Blessings, and I hope this message finds everyone well and in good spirits, no matter when you listen to it. Today is always truly a special, and it's a special episode because hell, I always feel that way about the shows I do. But lately, it's been taking me a while to get up to do the shows I do. So the term special episode really makes each episode a special episode. And with that being said, it's greatly appreciated that you all keep tuning in to hear each episode that I put out lately. I am greatly thankful and blessed to have your support and your continued engagement. Let's get to the opening quote. The opening quote comes from a great artist in their own right, Zora Neale Hurston. This quote says, "Love makes your soul crawl out from its hiding place." I'm going to read that again. Love makes your soul crawl out from its hiding place. I think that's enough to dig into the episode we're about to talk about, because that's exactly what happened with the Harlem Renaissance. Because it was love that created something through a time of depression. As a matter of fact, the time was so depressed that it called it the Great Depression. And it was during that time that the Harlem Renaissance is something that they tried to kill off. But what really happened was it was the birth of what we know today as what's the cool thing they call it? The culture. Yeah. It was the birth of everything we know, from art to music to movies to clothing. Harlem Renaissance is where it started. And I know you hear that name Harlem. That's right, Harlem, New York. Um, a vibrant beacon of black culture identity in the heart of New York City during the 20th century. It was during that time that it ignited a breathtaking social and artistic uprising that would forever change the landscape of American culture. Believe it or not, it spanned from 1910-ish, depending on where you get your theological history or your dictionary history or your Google search or your Bing search history. Uh, but depending on where you get it from, spanning from the 1910s, so anywhere in 1910, 1901, 1911, the 19 teens, I'd say it like that, to the mid 1930s. I say mid because some documents say 32, 33, 34. So mid 1930s for a lot of us says 35, because that's the middle of 1930 and 1940. But this extraordinary period is celebrated as the golden age of what is called African American creativity, a true powerful movement that pulsated with the life and richnesses. I never have a problem with this word. It must be too much money that was happening during this powerful decade of time that's got me stuck on this word. But true life and prosperity. I like that better. Leaving a unerasable mark on literature, as I stated earlier, music, stage performances, and art. As a matter of fact, The stage performances was so immaculate. There's still some that's done on Broadway today. The music is so immaculate that you can't even do remixes to some of the music that was done at that time because it's hard to recreate from the original. No matter how great the artist is, it's hard to recreate the first person that sung it. Later on in this episode, I call out some of the names from the original people that was in this Renaissance that a lot of you may have heard of, a lot of you may have not have heard of, but as history continues to age by the day, a lot of the history continues to be erased by the day. So that's why, like I keep telling y'all, that's why I do these episodes. So especially the history episodes, so it's not erased, but it's documented, and it's documented to the time, and it's heard no matter when it's heard. But this particular time was a time when voices previously silenced rose up in a triumphant harmony, weaving together stories of struggle and hope and resiliency that echoed through the streets of Harlem and beyond, illuminating the profound beauty of Black identity and expression. Usually when I talk about the Harlem Renaissance, I always remember the movie Harlem Nights. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen because at that time, it was first movie that had an all-black cast, and it was a passing of the torch per se because it had great comedians like Richard Pryor, Della Reese, Eddie Murphy, had man had so many comedians in it. It had Jasmine Guy, and we were only used to seeing a lot of these people on different shows. Fred Sanford, Different World, Arsenio Hall. We only used to seeing him at nighttime, but Arsenio Hall was a comedian too. So it's this show really changed my aspect on Harlem as it was because I saw Harlem through the eyes of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, who died, 68. So I was born in 75, so a few years before I came into the world. So I had to get it through the history books and through previous relatives who were still alive that saw that and walked through that time frame. So that was my connection to Harlem. And I've been to New York too. So Harlem today is not what Harlem used to be during this time frame. Everybody wanted to go through Harlem. Harlem also showed up through Ray's Boom Boom Room in the movie Life. But during this time period, let's say the 1918 to 1937 was the most vibrant and alive time frame for African American culture. It ignited the flame, as per se, in the realm of the arts. So, when everyone got together, everyone started to notice, and everyone started to notice, everyone started to put eyes on it, and everybody started to want it. And it reshaped the very fabric of African American literature too, because some of the greatest artists of all time was writing things at this time. Participants in the extraordinary movement poured their hearts and souls into every artistic endeavor. Uh, I don't think you know the depths of what it was like to be a first, because I don't even think they knew what it was like to be on the cusp of something great. And when Langston Hughes is writing his memoirs, I don't think he knew exactly the cusp of where he was taking it to for a person like me to be reading it. But the music Ella Fitzgerald was singing, I don't think she knew the depths of, let's say, Ella May, how that would be affecting her being able to sing songs on stage right now. And the theater aspect. I mean, The Raisin in the Sun is a popular theater movie on Broadway, and not just Broadway, but anywhere where you can see stage plays. And it was so dynamic that everyone would come out to see it. The reason this time frame is so popular is because it redefined what it meant to be the Negro and to dismantle the stifling white stereotypes that had long shackled black communities in their quest for identity and heritage. Now, let me say this. I know a lot of the history books say that it's always white stereotypes, but let me say there's also black stereotypes inside of our own black communities, because as the other communities continue to strive, it's a lot of black stereotypes inside of our own communities that keep holding us back. Let me just let that sit in your system. Oh, hey, you got in your mind right now that, oh, he's one of them. I'm one of what? Just tell it like it is. Tell the truth. I'm too woke. That's because I slept last night. I'm supposed to be woke right now. I mean, I can't sleep 24/7. But let me get back to talking about the Harlem Renaissance. They didn't keep themselves confined by a singular ideology. Oh, wow. Look, I don't keep myself confined by a singular ideology. The movement pulsated with the dynamic energy of intense debate and passionate discourse. A lot of you don't understand what intense debate and passionate discourse is. A lot of you just want to argue to be arguing. And you just want to talk, but you don't let the other person be heard. You just want to be heard. Intense debate and passionate discourse is when you go back and forth. You hear, you be heard, you listen, and you listen, and you listen, and you listen. So you have to listen when you're in a debate, or you're not really debating. You're just there arguing. That's the difference between a debate and an argument. Now, the roots spread beyond the cherished streets of Harlem. This reached out to places like Chicago, LA, the South. So it started to reach out to a lot of different places. I said between 1910s and 1930, mid 1930s. If you remember, this is also the time when Black Wall Street has started to become a big thing. So with Harlem Renaissance starting to reach out to a lot of different places, Black Wall Street is one of those places. And we all know Black Wall Street was in Oklahoma. I've already done an episode on Black Wall Street, so y'all go check that out. See the segue I did there? Yeah. Now, in Harlem, creativity flourished. Uh, Things often flourish around people who supportive. It also flourished around people who's not so supportive and often don't see a vision, because some people take that as motivation to where they're going, not motivation from where they came from. But in Harlem, creativity flourished, and a powerful awakening uh, came about everyone, illuminating the richness of African American experience for all time. This is also the conclusion of the Civil War in 1865. It was a powerful wave of hope surged through the hearts of countless African Americans who, newly liberated from the chains of slavery, this is the North, envisioned a vibrant future of belonging and opportunity in American society. They dared to dream of political empowerment, equal economic prospects, and the profound joy of cultural self-determination. This was not just a dream. It was a yearning and a pulsating desire to claim the rightful place in a nation that has so long been denied. It's interesting. It's 2025, and it seems like people are still trying to find and claim their rightful place in a nation they've been denied. In the late 1870s, a lot of people's dreams faced a brutal and merciless demise as the insidious supremacy, white supremacy, reasserted itself through the reconstruction of the South. Um, Now, I don't talk about Jim Crow a lot because he gets enough press as it is. But in the 1870s, the Jim Crow laws was a big popular thing. And I'm still not going to talk about Jim Crow. That's all that's all the promotion is going to get. Now, amidst this black reality, the industrious economies blossoming in the North and the Midwest began to shimmer like a beacon of hope, offering industrial jobs to workers at every race. Many were African Americans. They came to understand that their aspirations for a better life and a more accepting world could only be realized beyond the oppressive confinements of the South. As the dawn of the 20th century approached, the Great Migration unfurled as a powerful narrative of resilience, as hundreds of thousands of African Americans courageously journeyed to urban cities. This is what I was telling you all earlier, like Chicago, Los Angeles, Detroit, Philadelphia, and New York. Within 3 square miles of Harlem, 3 square miles, nearly 175,000 African Americans congregated, giving rise to the largest concentration of black individuals in the world at that time. 175,000 people within 3 square miles congregated in Harlem. And then it was because of that that Harlem emerged as a transformative sanctuary, embracing African Americans from all walks of life. Unskilled laborers and educated professionals alike were bound together by shared experiences of slavery, emancipation, and relentless racial oppression, united by an indomitable spirit to forge a bold new identity as free people. This new episode is being brought to you by refreshments. Refreshments help you get through the day. They help you get through episodes like this because every now and then you get hungry, you get thirsty, and you might need a snack. So make sure you always have refreshments on every occasion because you never know when you need to quench your thirst and satisfy an appetite. This episode is being brought to you by refreshments. As you see, I just finished my drink. So let's get back to the episode. The Great Migration. The Great Migration bore a stunning influx of remarkable minds and extraordinary talents that ignited an artistic revolution unlike any other. And this is when they call it the Harlem Renaissance because of the amount of people that had gathered in Harlem, the 175,000 people that gathered 3/4 square miles from Harlem. So that was the reason for it being called the Harlem Renaissance. And it spanned the time between the end of World War I and the mid 1930s. So the Cultural Renaissance produced the richness of expression that reshaped the very fabric of American life and world life. Yet the vibrant explosion was not confined to just Harlem, because I told you that they went to Chicago, Los Angeles, Detroit, and New York. They also found out that it rippled through cities like Cleveland, echoing the powerful legacy of the migration. Now, let me tell you something. Yeah, a lot of us use cell phones. A lot of y'all use cell phones and the internet and stuff like that. But back in the day, they didn't have none of that. And word got by just as fast. I'm going to tell you, word got by just as fast. Y'all laugh when people talk about pigeon mail, but they used to actually send letters by pigeons. They used to send letters by horses. And then mail got their word got by fast. Let me tell you that. A person named Alan Locke, a brilliant Harvard-educated writer and critic, hailed as the dean of the Harlem Renaissance, poetically described this extraordinary era as a spiritual coming of age, where African Americans transformed their social delusionism into radiant race pride. Now, I told you that there was poetry and paintings and sculptures and jazz and swing and opera and dance, but at its core, however, lay a unifying truth, a heartfelt and realistic portrayal of what it's truly meant to be Black in America. The powerful words of writer Langston Hughes resonate, describing it as an expression of our individual dark-skinned selves, accompanied by a newfound urgency in demanding civil and political rights. Among the luminaries who shaped the remarkable period were these are people that they talk about in the schoolhouse, and there are some people that are no longer in history books. You have to find out about them by Googling and research. W. Du Bois, talk about it in most of the history books still in the schools. Marcus Garvey, I had to research when I got out of school. Cyril Briggs and Walter Francis White. Electrifying performers such as Josephine Baker. I knew about Josephine Baker. Paul Robeson. I didn't find out about Paul Robeson until later on in life. And gifted writers and poets like the person that brought our poem today, Zora Neale Hurston, Effie Lee Newsom, and Kunti Cullen. You also had visual artists like Aaron Douglas and Augusta Savage captured the essence of Black experiences, while an extraordinary roster of legendary musicians, Louis Armstrong, Steve Fields White, that guy. You had Count Basie, you had U.B. Blake, you had Cab Calloway. I used to see Cab Calloway all the time on Sesame Street. And I used to see him on TV all the time. Duke Ellington, Billie Holiday, Ivy Anderson, Fats Waller, Jelly Roll Martin, I like that name, and an array of others that filled the air with a resonant symphony of hope, passion, and undeniable talent. Each note that they provided us with reverberated with the dreams, struggles, and triumphs of a resilient people, solidifying their legacy in the annals of history. As the 1920s drew to a close, the Harlem Renaissance came to an end. largely due to the stock market crash of 1929 and the subsequent Great Depression. These events had a detrimental impact on African Americans' owned businesses and publications, leading to a decrease in financial support for the arts from patrons, foundations, and theatrical organizations. Nevertheless, the legacy of the Harlem Renaissance on America remains profound. The movement highlighted the exceptional contributions of African American art, inspiring and influencing future generations of African American artists and intellectuals, such as myself. The rich self-portrait of African American life, identity, and culture that emerged from Harlem reached a global audience, effectively challenging the negative stereotypes prevalent in the South. In this way, it significantly transformed how individuals of other races perceived African Americans and gained a deeper understanding of their experiences. Most importantly, the Harlem Renaissance fostered a renewed sense of self-determination and pride among African American nations, along with a heightened social awareness and a strong commitment to political activism. These ideals laid the groundwork for the civil rights movement of the 1950s and the 1960s. It violated the visions of leaders such as it validated the vision of leaders such as Alan Locke and Langston Hughes, who believed in the potential of art to enhance the lives of African Americans. I'm going to leave you all with this quote from Mr. Henry Louis Gates Jr. And it says, "The Harlem Renaissance was one of the most important cultural movements in American history." There are many wonderful holidays celebrated around the world, some of which are well known and others that are still being discovered. As I explore these holidays and these special days and these special moments through my research, I enjoy sharing this knowledge from what I found, what I've compiled together from the different places and pages and people who have written about things. I enjoy sharing them with you all, you the listeners, just like I did in season 3 when I focused on like the 12 days of Christmas, and in season 1 when I did the Valentine's Day episode, which I have another one coming up. And this time I focus mainly on the Harlem Renaissance because with the shape the world is in, we need to know where it all came from to get back to keeping the hope alive, keeping the passion alive, and keep believing that there's always another way forward. This vision has been made possible by the remarkable and courageous and inspiring individuals who have contributed to it. They started it. I'm continuing it. And someone will come along behind me and continue that vision also. I'm committed to conducting thorough research and ensuring that the creators of such a beautiful moment receive appropriate recognition. Thank you all for listening, and may you be blessed beyond your measures, and may healing always be in the roots of your foundation. Take care.